The origins of the Russian state, Kievan Rus, and early expansion. The roots of modern-day Russia can be traced back over 1,000 years to a loose confederation of Slavic tribes called Kievan Rus, which was established in what is now Ukraine, Belarus, and parts of western Russia. Around 862 AD, the Varangians, Norse warriors led by Rurik, were invited to rule these territories. This event marked the beginning of statehood for the region and eventually evolved into a powerful kingdom under Rurik's descendants. The early Russian state was centered in Kiev, now the capital of Ukraine. It rapidly expanded through both conquests and strategic marriages, incorporating vast tracts of land along river systems that served as key trade routes connecting the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea and beyond. These rivers, particularly the Dnieper and the Volga, were crucial for commerce and facilitated the spread of Christianity into these territories in the late 9th century under Prince Vladimir I. The power of Kievan Rus peaked during the reigns of Yaroslav the Wise, 1019 to 1054, and his sons. This era is often referred to as the Golden Age of Kiev, characterized by flourishing trade with Byzantium and Western Europe, cultural advances, and a strong legal system. However, internal conflicts among the princely descendants and external threats from nomadic tribes like the Pecheneg and later the Mongols eventually led to its fragmentation. The dissolution of Kievan Rus in the 13th century due to the Mongol invasion left behind several independent principalities, including Vladimir Suzdal, which would become central to Russia's future development. This region, under the leadership of princes from the Rurik dynasty, gradually expanded its control over neighboring territories through military campaigns and political marriages. The rise of Muscovy, Ivan III, and Tsarist expansion. The rise of Moscow as the center of power in what would become modern Russia is a critical chapter in the country's history. Initially just one among many principalities that emerged from the ashes of Kievan Rus, Muscovy began to expand its influence during the late 14th century under the leadership of Grand Prince Dmitry Donskoy and his successors. A pivotal figure in this expansion was Ivan III the Great, who reigned from 1462 to 1505. Ivan III made a significant move by breaking away from Mongol rule when he refused to pay tribute, thus marking the end of the so-called Tatar yoke that had lasted for nearly 2 centuries. His military campaigns were aimed at consolidating Russian lands under his control and included the annexation of Novgorod in 1478 and Tver in 1485. Ivan III also sought to legitimize his rule by marrying Sophia Paleologina, niece of the last Byzantine Emperor Constantine XI. This union was significant as it allowed him to claim a connection to the Roman Empire and thus to the heritage of Constantinople, which had fallen to the Ottomans in 1453. The marriage helped Ivan III to reinforce his status not just as Grand Prince but also as a figure with imperial aspirations. The expansion under Ivan III was not limited to territorial gains. He also centralized power by reducing the influence of boyars, the aristocratic class. He introduced new legal codes and administrative reforms that strengthened his autocratic rule, laying down foundations for an absolute monarchy. The title Tsar, or Caesar, adopted during this period, emphasized Moscow's self-image as a successor to imperial traditions. The reign of Ivan IV, Ivan the Terrible, marked another turning point in Russian expansion with the establishment of the Tsardom of Russia in 1547. Ivan IV continued Ivan III's policies but took them further through brutal measures known as oprichnina, which were aimed at eliminating opposition and consolidating his power. During this time, he also expanded into Siberia, beginning a process that would eventually see Russia extend its territories across the entire Eurasian continent. The Romanov dynasty and further expansion. The Romanov dynasty's ascension to power in 1613 marked another significant phase of Russian expansion under Tsar Mikhail I and his successors. This period saw the establishment of a more stable government that encouraged economic growth and territorial expansion, laying down foundations for Russia's emergence as a major European power. One of the critical figures during this era was Peter the Great, reigned 1682 to 1725, who is often credited with modernizing Russian society and expanding its territory. Under his rule, Russia became involved in the northern wars against Sweden, culminating in victories that secured access to the Baltic Sea and founded St. Petersburg as a window to Europe. This strategic position allowed Russia to project power westward and engage more actively in European affairs. Economic reforms played an essential role in supporting military campaigns. Peter the Great implemented numerous changes to modernize Russian infrastructure and industries, including shipbuilding and metallurgy, which were vital for both naval and land-based warfare. These economic advancements enabled Russia to sustain long-term military engagements, ensuring steady territorial gains across Europe and Siberia. The push into Siberia began under Ivan IV but was significantly intensified during the reigns of Tsars such as Alexei Mikhailovich, reigned 1645 to 1676, and Peter I. This vast territory was annexed through a combination of military conquest, diplomacy with local tribes, and economic incentives that encouraged Russian settlers to migrate eastward. The integration of Siberia into the Russian state was not without resistance from indigenous peoples such as the Cossacks and various nomadic groups. However, over time, Russia established firm control over these regions, incorporating them into its administrative structure and exploiting their natural resources for further economic growth. Catherine II, the Empress who expanded Russia's frontiers. Catherine II, often referred to as Catherine the Great, reigned 1762 to 1796, was one of the most influential rulers in Russian history. Her reign is synonymous with both cultural achievements and territorial expansion. Catherine the Great was a capable administrator who oversaw significant reforms that modernized Russia's legal system, education, and economic policies. She also played an active role in shaping foreign policy, which included major territorial acquisitions at the expense of neighboring states. One of her primary aims was to secure access to warm water ports on the Black Sea. This goal led to conflicts with the Ottoman Empire, resulting in the Russo-Turkish Wars. The Treaty of Kukuk-Kaynarka, 1774, and subsequent treaties granted Russia control over territories including Crimea and parts of the northern coast of the Black Sea, which were strategically important for naval expansion. Catherine also sought to expand Russian influence in Poland-Lithuania through a series of partitions with Prussia and Austria. The partitions effectively eliminated an independent Polish state and expanded Russia's western frontier significantly. These acquisitions brought millions more subjects under imperial rule and secured vital agricultural lands that further bolstered the economy. Internally, Catherine undertook reforms aimed at centralizing power and modernizing Russian society. She established numerous educational institutions, including the Smolny Institute for Noble Maidens, which trained women in Enlightenment-era ideas about science, literature, and philosophy. Her interest in European culture led to increased cultural exchanges with France and Germany, bringing new artistic and intellectual trends to Russia. Catherine's governance style combined autocracy with enlightened reforms that attempted to balance traditional Russian values with Western modernity. She was also known for her patronage of the arts and sciences, commissioning numerous public works and encouraging literary figures like Voltaire to contribute to Russian culture. The acquisition of territories under Catherine II not only expanded Russia geographically but also diversified its ethnic composition, presenting new administrative challenges. The integration of these regions required careful governance to maintain stability and loyalty among diverse populations. Despite facing opposition from some nobles who feared the weakening of traditional privileges, Catherine's strategic approach ensured that her reign marked a significant period of consolidation and expansion for the Russian Empire. From Alexander I to Nicholas II, conquests and consolidations. The early 19th century under Tsar Alexander I, reigned 1801 to 1825, witnessed another wave of Russian territorial expansion, primarily through military conquests. The Napoleonic Wars provided an opportunity for Russia to assert its influence over territories that were either weakened or directly threatened by French ambitions. Alexander I played a crucial role in the formation of coalitions against Napoleon Bonaparte. After the defeat and retreat of French forces following the disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812, Alexander led his troops into Europe as part of the coalition that eventually defeated Napoleon at Waterloo in 1815. This victory not only restored Russia's status as a major European power but also allowed it to secure new territories. The Congress of Vienna, 1814–1815, where European powers discussed post-war arrangements, granted Russia control over Finland from Sweden and part of Poland, strengthening its position in both Northern Europe and the heartland of Eastern Europe. This consolidation marked a significant geographical expansion that laid down further foundations for Russia's continued growth. Following Alexander I, his successor Nicholas I, reigned 1825–1855, focused on internal stability rather than territorial conquests. However, he maintained Russian influence through military actions and diplomatic maneuvers, particularly in the Balkans where Russia acted as a protector of Orthodox Christians against Ottoman rule. This stance led to conflicts such as the Russo-Turkish War, 1828–1829, which resulted in gains for Greece and Serbia under Russian protection. Internally, Nicholas I was known for his autocratic policies aimed at suppressing any form of dissent or liberal movements within Russia. He strengthened central authority by limiting the power of the nobility and implementing a strict censorship system. His emphasis on military preparedness led to significant reforms that modernized the Russian armed forces but also drained resources away from economic development. The Crimean War, 1853–1856, fought against an alliance of European powers including Britain, France, and the Ottoman Empire, exposed Russia's strategic weaknesses despite its territorial gains. The war ended with a loss for Russia and highlighted the need for further modernization to maintain its status as a global power. By the time Nicholas II, reigned 1894–1917, ascended to the throne, Russia had become an empire spanning vast territories from Europe to Asia. However, his reign was marked by increasing internal tensions and external challenges that eventually culminated in the Russian Revolution of 1917. The failure to address long-standing issues like agricultural backwardness, industrial underdevelopment, and social inequality led to widespread unrest and ultimately the collapse of the Tsarist regime. Overall, from Alexander I through Nicholas II, Russia's expansion involved a mix of military conquests, diplomatic negotiations, and internal reforms aimed at maintaining control over its extensive territories. While these rulers succeeded in expanding Russian influence geographically, they also faced growing internal pressures that would eventually lead to the end of Tsarist rule. Conclusion: the legacy of expansion. The expansive history of Russia under various Tsars left a profound legacy on both the nation and broader global politics. Geographically, territorial acquisitions shaped the vast size and diverse composition of modern Russia, incorporating regions ranging from Eastern Europe to Siberia. Economically, expansion facilitated access to vital resources such as agricultural lands, minerals, and ports that bolstered Russian economic growth. Culturally, the integration of diverse populations led to rich cultural exchanges and influenced societal norms and values in both metropolitan areas and frontier territories. Politically, the centralized governance required for maintaining control over vast regions contributed significantly to the development of autocratic rule within Russia. However, expansion also brought challenges related to integrating different ethnicities and managing far-flung regions. These issues often led to social unrest and contributed to the eventual downfall of Tsarist rule during the Russian Revolution of 1917. The complex interplay between territorial growth and internal dynamics illustrates the multifaceted nature of Russia's historical development and its enduring impact on contemporary geopolitics. Understanding this legacy is crucial for comprehending Russia's current position as a major global power with diverse cultural, economic, and political influences rooted in centuries of expansive history. Thus, the narrative of Russian expansion under Tsars highlights both achievements and challenges that have profoundly shaped the nation's identity and trajectory over time. This comprehensive view underscores the intricate relationship between territorial growth, internal governance, and Russia's role on the world stage, offering valuable insights into its historical development and future directions.
UAV overhead. Hostile UAV in the area. Gas is closing in. Relocating safe zone. Enemy UAV is online.
From across the fucking sea.
Hostile UAV in the area. Enemy UAV is online. Enemy UAV overhead.
Frag sent.
Enemy UAV is online. Gas is inbound.
They got me!
Enemy ordnance incoming. Missile strike on a nearby target.
We've made it to the top 10. Less than 10 were still standing. Valiant effort. Keep your head up and return to base for debrief.